What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today we're talking some college football ahead of the Week 12 Saturday slate. This is the best bets video, quick hitters on the top games for the Week 12 slate. If you want full breakdowns, Betting You is available on this very channel with myself and Ben Rasa, where we dive deep into all the marquee games. So check that out if you want deeper content and more games. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you by Bet365, and they have a deal where you can bet $5 in any game. Whether it's a side or a total, it doesn't matter, and you also don't need to win. You will still get the $150 in bonus bets, even if you lose. And better yet, if you head over to Odd Shopper, hover over the Tails Marketplace, and get for free, you will find a way to still take advantage of that Bet365 offer, get your $150. But if you click this button, you will also get one free month of our Tails Marketplace. All you have to do is follow these steps right here. And it's that simple. You'll get one free month of myself or any content creator you like. There's something for every single sports fan. And if you take advantage of more than one, that's more than 1 month. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 or older to play. All right, so let's just go to the live hot screen. I think the biggest game of the week is, without question, Tennessee taking on Georgia. Unfortunately, we got some weird news. Last night, I'm recording this earlier in the week, that Nico Iamaleava sustained a concussion and he might not play in this game. So this has moved all the way to 11 in some spots. It seems like the consensus is still 10, but you could shop around. If you're a Georgia backer and still take the 10 points, I think this game is exceedingly hard to talk about without the Iamaleava news. But this team Tennessee does recruit quarterbacks very well. They're a strong team overall. They're actually tied with Georgia in power ratings. I still think they've played the worst schedule overall when you look at what these two teams have faced this year, and it makes sense in their win-loss record. Tennessee's blip on the radar came against Arkansas, which was a game they had no business actually losing. Otherwise, it's been a ton of really close games for this team outside of their non-con and then playing the worst team in the SEC, Mississippi State, last week. They beat Kentucky by 10. They beat Alabama by 7 in a greasy game. They took Florida to overtime, and Florida easily should have won that game. What a complete mess. Oklahoma by 10 points in the game we saw them make the QB change. Georgia has already played Clemson, who they slaughtered, Alabama, Texas, Florida, and Ole Miss. Obviously, they have not gotten out of that unscathed. They are currently 7-2. But talk about just a brutal schedule for this Georgia team. Injury-wise, on Tennessee, it's basically just Iamaleava. Keenan Peely, their stud linebackers, out with an ACL. On Georgia, Micah Morris missed their last game at guard. Tate Ratledge is still limited at guard. Trevor Etienne's been limited at running back. Both Smail Mondon and Jordan Hall barely played, even though a lot was made of their statuses coming into the game that both of them would be active. And Carson Beck has been atrocious. He now has 9 interceptions in the last 4 games, and the underlying metrics aren't kind. He has run poorly, but he has 17 turnover-worthy plays in the year and 12 interceptions. He hasn't run that bad. And it certainly is starting to cost Georgia games. The other thing is this Georgia defense has just not lived up to expectation. Jackson Dart, 9 yards per attempt. DJ Lagway, 7.8 yards per attempt. They did do an awesome job against Quinn Ewers, who's more of a game manager, a fancy game manager. But still, that's a good data point. 8.3 yards per attempt to Van Buren, 7.4 to Peyton Thorne, 11.3 to Jalen Milroe. This secondary has been gotten plenty of times this year. I just don't know if Tennessee can do that without Iamaleava. They have good receivers. I like their run game. Their O-line is terrible. They're 71st in pass blocking, 125th in run blocking. They're playing 7 guys on the offensive line. Every single week, Karich, Campbell, they're coming out of the game. It's just not a unit that's very settled right now. And even with Beck's struggles, I still think this Georgia team has enough firepower where you could take a look at this team if you wanted to play this game. I will not till we get Iamaleava news. It was reported that he was at practice. That doesn't really mean anything because part of going through concussion protocol, like one of the steps is practicing without any setbacks. So, I mean, he's supposed to do that. But anyway, that's that. This was the best game of the week. Hopefully Iamaleava plays, so it's a little more exciting. From here, it is not the best week on the top end. I would contend that this is the second best game. I would definitely hear arguments, but Clemson taking on Pitt. I mean, Pitt is the 2 losses consecutively, but Clemson, they have a couple losses as well. So I guess this sets up as a pretty good game. Clemson's still a 10-point favorite in most spots, and the total in the game, honestly, I'm a little surprised by it. I thought it might be a little higher. It's 53.5 points. But I guess it does make some sense with how poorly Pitt has played, and we'll kind of rationalize why that might be. The pace in the game is pretty solid, though. Clemson 52nd, Pitt 3rd. I have some mild interest in an over. But let's break this down. Let's get to the injuries. On the Clemson side, Tyler Brown has been out for this team for a while now. He's really the only offensive player that matters a lot. I guess Colin Sadler has been out for a while at center, and Tristan Lee did sprain his ankle in the last game. Dab was always optimistic with these injuries, so maybe we should just kind of bake in that maybe he probably won't play. I don't know. But that's 2 offensive linemen and your left tackle, so that's at least worth noting. On defense, Kobe McLeod's been out. He had knee surgery. Shelton Lewis at safety, Peter Woods at defensive tackle, Devontae Capehart at defensive tackle, Trey Williams at defensive tackle. All those guys have been banged up. For Pitt, they're down multiple offensive linemen. Branson Taylor's out for the year. Ryan Jacoby missed their last game. Jason Collier missed their last game. Kanata Mumfield also got hurt in the game at wide receiver, which is worth mentioning. And then on defense, Rashad Battle at corner missed. There's a lot of injuries for both teams. But I think the big reason why you're seeing this Pitt regression is some of the turnover-worthy plays Eli Holstein has had this year finally being converted to interceptions. There basically hadn't been a quarterback who ran hotter than him in the entire country. He's up to 20 turnover-worthy plays. He only has 6 interceptions. Now, most of those have come in their recent games, and you can see which games Pitt has lost. They dropped to SMU where they got absolutely slaughtered, and they just lost to Virginia by 5 points, who, I mean, according to their win-loss record, has had no business losing to unless you start looking at the underlying stuff. Pitt has a bad offensive line. They are 88th in pass blocking, 106 in run blocking. Their defense isn't horrible. They currently come in 35th, but you can beat this team over the top, 47th in coverage. Plenty of blips on the radar to opposing signal callers, and it has not been a good slate of opposing signal callers. Colandrea, who might get benched, Kevin Jennings at 12.2 yards per attempt. McCord did have a terrible game against them. They did at least force that. Mendoza was average. Then they played Criswell. Decent game to Green, decent game to Sorsby. I still don't buy this defense overall. On the other side for Clemson, the story with them is they beat up on everyone they should, and then they lose their big games. Pitt is not a team on the level of Clemson. Pitt is not a team on the level. Maybe they're on the level of Louisville. I don't know. That game still just doesn't make any sense. Clemson did have a ton of injuries in the game, but that's no excuse. I think they get it done against Pitt here. I'm somewhat interested in like alt stuff. All that to say, not buying Pitt. And the over is interesting to me. One last thing we've seen Clemson do when they beat the snot out of teams is play a lot of backups. And they have tons of injuries right now, so this might actually help them. They allowed 35 points to NC State, most of that in the fourth quarter. 20 points to App State, most of that in the fourth quarter. Stanford, Florida State, Wake Forest, Virginia, all those teams scored at least 13. Virginia scored 31. Their defense allows points, but part of it is just by design. They'll allow you to score at the end of games to preserve health. The third game I had a really hard time picking, so I'm going to go with Texas as they try to preserve their hold on the SEC. They're 13-point favorites over Arkansas. Arkansas has taken a lot of money in this game, which I don't understand. I'm not really an Arkansas backer. But the total in the game is 57.5. I think that's worth mentioning. Pace is pretty good here. Texas 36th, Arkansas 41st. The big thing is Texas has the number 1 defense in the entire country. Some of that is scheduling related. They've played a very easy schedule this year. Now it's the SEC. There's definitely hard games in there, but by SEC standards, this is not the most difficult schedule. Their non-con was a joke. Not all their fault. Michigan being a corpse didn't help them. But then they played Mississippi State, the worst team in this conference. Oklahoma doesn't have a QB. They lose to Georgia in a greasy game. Vanderbilt, and they just played a third stringer for Florida. So they played a lot of bad QBs. The best one they face this year is probably Beck, which is telling you how good the quarterback schedule has been. My only real question is this unit number 1 like power rating suggests, or are they closer to like 5 or 10 because of scheduling? Regardless, in this matchup, it probably doesn't matter. You're facing an Arkansas offensive line that ranks 83rd in pass blocking, 63rd in run blocking. Texas is top 15 in every major defensive metric. The pass rush is 7th in the country. They should eat alive this Arkansas offensive line. Taylon Green's on the injury report, which doesn't bode well for this game either. I think he's going to play and be fine, but we'll see on this. Bad offensive line, erratic Taylon Green. It's not a recipe for success against this awesome Texas defense. Then on the other side, Quinn Ewers has not had a great season. All the underlying metrics for him are a little suspect. And the reason he still has awesome counting stats, I personally believe, is the skill position group is awesome. So as long as he just takes care of the ball, what does he really have to do? It's the same thing as last year when he's playing with all those NFL players. You have Bond, you have Golden, you have decent running backs. I mean, just get the ball to your playmakers and don't get too cute. He has 11 turnover-worthy plays, 6 interceptions, only 7 big-time throws. He can't run the ball. But he does have an awesome offensive line. They're first in pass blocking, 38th in run blocking. We mentioned all those players. Arkansas is healthier on defense than they've been this year, but they're still 101st. I just don't think they have the horses to stand up to this Texas offense. This has moved Arkansas's direction. I'm going to wait and potentially play a Texas side as soon as we get this to settle a little bit. But that'll do it for the top 3 games. If I missed something, please let me know. If you want more content, check out this very channel. Betting U has all of the college football content you need. DMs are open on Twitter if you'd like to reach out at Matt_Gajewski. Otherwise, we'll be back later with more content. Until then, good luck. We'll see you later.